This is what the lead wrist does in the entire golf swing. If you can understand this, you can understand how you hit much stronger, straighter golf shots.
And welcome to a brand new video here on Alex Elliott Golf. I do strongly recommend you do subscribe and turn the bell. We do things a little bit differently here. We make what seems very complicated, very, very simple. Now, listen up. If you want to finally eradicate that chicken wing, understand how you square the club face, hit the ball longer and straighter, and hit down the golf ball more with your irons, well, this is the video that you have been waiting for. I want you to think of this as a detailed but simple explanation of what the lead arm and the lead wrist does from the starting position, through the backswing, into impact, and the follow-through. Yes, this is more detailed than normal, but I've broken this down into small, manageable chunks. So let's get into this video.
I'm Alex Elliott, top 50 world coach, and I am excited for this one today. Let's start off by covering this motion in the golf swing. So the first thing to do is understand the terminology. This is ulnar deviation, thumbs down. This is radial deviation, thumbs up. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Easy terms now to understand. So what does this mean in the golf swing? Your starting point, you're gonna have roughly around 30 degrees of ulnar deviation, slightly thumbs down at address. As you move to the top of the backswing, not much is really gonna happen here. It's gonna be relatively quite neutral. But this is the point where people, I guess, slightly misunderstand. At impact, you're gonna come back into ulnar deviation, back into thumbs down, into impact.
So let's look at this in a little more detail. And quite rightly, you're probably thinking, Alex, what's this gonna do to my ball flight? How's it making me better? Well, this is part of the hitting down element. So less fat, less thin, and more compression. And I'm looking at this. We start with ulnar deviation, that's our thumbs down. We move to radial deviation, back to ulnar deviation, and back then to radial. So that's our thumbs down at the address position, into thumbs up by the top of the backswing, back to thumbs down, and then back to thumbs up by the follow-through. And I'm really breaking this down into a simple 2D model. In this motion of radial and ulnar deviation, what do our wrists do in the entire golf swing? Because once you've got a better understanding of that, you can then learn to hit the golf ball better. And for many golfers that I teach, this is part of the missing piece of the puzzle. So this is exactly what the lead arm and lead wrist does in terms of ulnar and radial deviation. It's now time to move on to the next phase though. If you're a slicer of the golf ball, listen up. We're talking flexion and extension. Wow.
Now, as I said before, if you can understand these positions, this is your stable release in the golf swing. So at the address position, we're going to start off with a little bit of extension. The other word you might have heard here is a little bit of cupping of your lead wrist. That's your starting point in the golf swing. This will depend on how strong or how weak your grip is, but generally for a neutral grip, we have a little bit of extension in the address position. Now, as we move to the top, we lose a little bit of that extension and move closer towards flexion or a flatter left wrist at the top. And then this is really key. I think if we can start to understand the importance of impact in the golf swing way more, we want to have around roughly 10 degrees of flexion into impact. Look at that there. That's the iconic position we all talk about. And then we move through back into extension on the follow-through.
So let's dive into this again in a little more detail. Now forget everything that I said right now in terms of ulnar and radial. That's thumbs up and thumbs down. Let's just look at this in terms of flexion and extension of the lead wrist, so left for a right-hander. You can see I'm in extension at the start. I got some slight flexion at the top, but by impact, I've got a lot more flexion to hit the golf ball. Now, you're probably thinking, what's this going to do? Now, watch the middle image of the detailed version of where your wrist should be. This is actually going to help you compress the golf ball better, square up the club face, and give you a much better chance of starting the golf ball down your target line with your longer irons, with your hybrids, and with your driver. You have to understand this. We start in extension. We move to slight flexion, that's keeping the club face square. By the time we get to impact, we've got more flexion. Now you'll notice, when I'm doing this, I'm really exaggerating this move to really hammer this home to you, to get it into your swing. And you can really see by the time I get to impact, for reference, this is me with a 6 iron, I've got quite a lot of forward shaft lean. Now that's what I want for you. That's what I want for your game. So feeling that starting position with a slight cupping, that's our extension. Moving into flexion, that's moving our knuckles away. And then back to more flexion by impact is so, so key. And I'll leave you with this final message on flexion and extension before we move into the final piece of what this lead arm does. You have to understand that it moves back up into extension. We don't continue holding that flexion all the way through the ball.
Final piece, pronation, supination. This is where I see so many golfers start to elevate their golf swing once they understand how to do it. So roughly, in the backswing, it's going to rotate around 90 degrees of pronation to get our club nicely on plane. And as you come down, you're going to rotate back to where you started around 90 degrees. This will be more supination, and then into the follow through, another 90 degrees on the way through. Just watch this one-handed.
So let's look at this in a little more detail. Let's have a look at what this is. This is our pronation. And anything on the downswing now, we want to feel more supination. Just think of that as your forearm pointing more up and really feel that continues into that follow-through position. If you want more club head speed, you want to lose your chicken wing, this is such a key element of this video. Here's some more pronation. On the downswing, we move into supination, into impact, and then on the follow-through, we continue to feel that supination. I would strongly recommend you make some one-handed practice swings with the club as I'm doing here. You'll really get the understanding of how that lead arm is seriously going to work. And even if you want to put the arm in front of you like this, again, I strongly recommend
supination.
it. But how do you bring all three elements that we've spoken about? So, ulnar deviation and radial deviation, flexion extension, and supination and pronation. Well, simply, you'll do a lot of this already in your swing. But I want you just to understand, you need elements of all, okay? So from that starting position we're going to see in a second, right here, you can see I'm in a supinated position. I move into pronation, on the downswing, back into supination, and back onto the follow-through. If we look at this in terms of flexion and extension, I have slight extension, move more into flexion, back into even more flexion by impact. And that's that shaft lean. And remember, ulnar and radial deviation. We start with ulnar, that's our thumbs down, move slightly into radial, that's thumbs up, and on the way down, back into ulnar. It's just realizing that I want to combine all these elements. And it's a little bit of a domino effect, to be honest. I would strongly, though, just think about flexion and extension and pronation and supination. Because I find that a lot of golfers get those two elements right, as I've shown you in this video, you will get the rest of it to work together. I really strongly recommend concentrating on those two elements.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm the only one that keeps things simple in the golf swing.